Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So the last update about Unfortunate Love was how Sonal and Malishka comes to the Obray's house and they try to make Lakshmi jealous by turning Lakshmi against Rishi. Then Ayush wants Sonal and Malishka to stop if they are trying to do something. So let's continue from there. Lakshmi goes to bring Grandma from the temple and Grandma thanks Lakshmi for taking her to Gurudwara. Virendra says Mrs. Almira will be coming. Neelam comes there and asks if the food is ready. Mukesh says that Lakshmi has cooked all the food and Grandma says hats off to Lakshmi for managing all the housework and she also took her to Gurudwara. Mrs. Almira comes there and asks Malishka if she is Rishi's wife and says nice to meet you. She is about to hug Malishka, but Virendra tells her that Malishka is a family friend. Mrs. Almira stops and she did not hug Malishka, and Malishka feels bad and thinks that when will her dream of becoming Rishi's wife be fulfilled? Lakshmi comes there and gives water to Mrs. Almira and to the guy who has come with her. Virendra says Lakshmi is Rishi's wife. Mrs. Almira gets up and hugs Lakshmi. Lakshmi touches her feet. Mrs. Almira says nobody touches a business associate's feet, but Lakshmi says that she has touched the person's feet who called her as a daughter. Mrs. Almira tells everyone that even she had a daughter who died in a bomb blast and says that when she heard about the terrorist attack, she got worried and that was why she came to meet Lakshmi. Lakshmi asks Mrs. Almira to think of her as her daughter and Rishi and Ayush comes there and says aye. Lakshmi brings sweet and snacks there. Mrs. Almira is surprised and says food. Lakshmi says you will get strength to have food and she asks her to have the snacks before food. Malishka asks Lakshmi why she made so many sweet dishes for auntie and says it is not good for her health, but Lakshmi says that she has made it sweet with date and natural sugar. Virendra says that Lakshmi take care of everything and he tells Mrs. Almira that she will soon see Lakshmi as her real daughter. Lakshmi sits and talks to Mrs. Almira. Malishka feels sidelined and rejected. Later, Malishka tells Sona that what did Lakshmi think of herself and says that Lakshmi has wiped her identity away from the house. Malishka says that Lakshmi is cheap and illiterate. Sona asks her not to start again. Malishka says only I know how I feel and she asks Sona what she thinks of her promise. Sona tries to stop her but she stops. Malishka says everyone are in Lakshmi's clutch and only Neelam, Karishma and Sonia want me to marry Rishi. Malishka says to Sonal that except from Neelam, Karishma and Sonia, every other person wants to throw her out of the house and Rishi has already thrown me out of his life. Sonal says I agree that I thought that Lakshmi is an easy target, but I will throw Lakshmi out from Rishi's life and from everywhere and Rishi will become yours. Mrs. Almira invites the Obrays for her sister's son Rohan's reception in India. Rishi says I had met Rohan and Mrs. Almira asked Neelam to lock the date. Virendra says our professional relationship is becoming a family relationship. Mrs. Almira says when she had come, she did not think that she would invite them, but as Lakshmi regarded her as a family member, so she is inviting them. Grandma praises Lakshmi. Karishma tells Neelam that Grandma is praising Lakshmi as if they don't take care of their guest before. Neelam says that Grandma is old now and says I don't feel bad and she asks her not to feel bad. Rishi asks if they can discuss the business. Mrs. Almira says surely and says that in fact she wanted to go to her sister's house but she cannot go and she will meet her during the reception party and says she felt at home here. Sonal says to Malishka that she will get her married to Rishi. Malishka says I want to believe you and she asks her to send Lakshmi to such an island where Rishi would never go. Sonal says you wanted Lakshmi to die. Malishka says yeah, she tried to kill Lakshmi before but she got saved. Malishka says she had done her own kidnapping so that she can frame Lakshmi, but her destiny is bad and Lakshmi got saved again. Sonal says to Malishka that your destiny is bad. She says if we have to go to the extreme, then we will go. She asks about Balvinda. Malishka tells her that Balvinda helped her and says that Balvinda is Lakshmi's lover. She tells Sonal everything and says that I got Rishi married to Lakshmi, thinking that I will get Rishi later, but it is not working. Sonal asks Malishka if Balvinda is behind Lakshmi even till now. Malishka says Balvinda got ready to murder Lakshmi for money. Sonal says you trusted the wrong person. Malishka asks how will you get me married to Rishi? Sonal says like I got married to my best friend's husband, I will use the same method to get you married to Rishi. She says this method is a tried and tested formula and it has 100% success. Rishi comes to Ayush and asks if he has done the work. Ayush asks Rishi to check the presentation that he has made. Rishi says not needed and says he feels that he has put all his effort, and Ayush thanks him for giving him the chance. Rishi says I will punch you and he asks him to forget his scoldings. Ayush says I will not forget my mistake. Rishi says I know your presentation will be good and it will be the best presentation of your life, and they laugh. In the kitchen, Mukesh asks Lakshmi how she will make all the food alone. Lakshmi says I am not alone because you are helping me and you are doing more work with me, and she calls someone. Malishka asks Sonal to meet Balvinda and says that he can help them. Sonal initially disagreed, but then she agreed and she asked Malishka to make a video call to Balvinda and then she would decide if she should take Balvinda's help or not. Malishka calls Balvinda. Balvinda picks the call and asks Sonal why she has stolen Malishka's phone. Malishka says she is on call. Balvinda asks if Malishka's face is changed and says you are looking better. Malishka takes the call and asks him to see her. She asks him to talk to her friend Sonal. Balvinda says that Sonal is more beautiful than Malishka and he flirts with Sonal. He stares at her and thinks that his sight is stuck on her, and Sonal asks him to come to the Oberoi mansion. Balvinda asks Malishka what Sonal is saying. Malishka says yes, you have to come to the Oberoi house. Balvinda asks that what is Sonal saying and says that he is not coming to the Oberoi house because he is wanted. Sonal asks Malishka to see the coward man that she has called. Balvinda says he is not coward and he is very much brave. He asks Sonal to wait for him with the garland because he is coming, and he ends the call. Malishka asks Sonal that what if Balvinda gets caught. She says Balvinda should not come here. Sonal says Balvinda will come. Malishka calls Balvinda and asks him not to come. Balvinda says your friend has called me a coward, so I will come there. Malishka ends the call and tells Sonal that what if Balvinda gets caught. Sonal asks Malishka not to worry and she should focus her energy on Rishi, and she goes to the washroom. And Malishka thinks that how is Sonal going to get her married to Rishi. Ayush gives the presentation to Mrs. Almira. Mrs. Almira says we cannot attract foreigners with this presentation. She says we have to change it completely. Virendra says let's take a deep breath and then check it again, and he asks Ayush to take a break and then work on the project again. Ayush says sorry to Rishi for his bad presentation again. Rishi says it is okay, sometimes it happens, and he says that he will work on the same presentation. Malishka and Sonal are standing outside. Malishka says it is risky to call Balvinda here. Sonal says why are you in tension, and says Balvinda might not even come. Balvinda is hiding behind the plant at the Oberoi's house. He comes in front of Malishka and Sonal and he continues to look at Sonal. Sonal says she has seen him and she asks him to go. Balvinda says he came here from 25 kilometers away, risking his life. He asks Sonal if she will marry him. Sonal says she has called Rishi to come there and she asks him to wait. Balvinda asks Sonal if she has gone mad and he goes away from there. Malishka asks Sonal what is in her mind. She asks if she wants to get her caught. Ayush blames himself for the bad presentation. Rishi asks him to cheer up. He motivates him and asks him not to accept defeat. Ayush says I will try again. Rishi says let's analyze the presentation and correct it from the client's perspective, and Ayush says okay. Malishka asks Sonal to answer her. She asks if Sonal wants to intentionally get her caught by calling Balvinda there for nothing. Sonal asks Malishka to relax and says she lied that Rishi is coming to make that idiot run away, and they turn to go and they get shocked. Ayush tells Rishi that he is trying, but he cannot do the presentation. He asks of what to do. Rishi says, I will make you understand how to do it. Sonal and Malishka sees Balvinda standing behind them, and Balvinda says, you have tested me, and I have passed your test, and you have failed. Balvinda asks Sonal that, why did you call me? Malishka says, when we have work with you, then we will call you. Balvinda flirts with Sonal and tells her that she is very beautiful. Malishka asks Balvinda to go and he leaves. Sonal says Balvinda is mad, get rid of him. But Malishka says that Balvinda is my pet and he is very useful. Rishi helps Ayush to make the presentation. Ayush says one day, I will learn how to make good presentation and then I will become like you. Rishi says I want you to be more better than me, and Lakshmi comes there and says that the work is done. Malishka asks Sonal to tell her what she is going to do for her to get her married to Rishi. Sonal says, I got married to my friend's husband who was rich and who will give me luxurious life. She says I could go to any level to get him, and she asks Malishka to do exactly like her. Sonal asks Malishka that where is my friend that I married her husband. Malishka asks where. Sonal says she did not kill her friend and she did not leave her to live. She says she has made her friend paralyzed and she has kept her friend at her house so that people would think that I am good for taking care of my friend, even though I am the cause of her problem. Malishka is shocked and says, so you want to say that Lakshmi will be neither alive nor dead? Neelam asks Lakshmi if the dinner is ready. Lakshmi says yes. Mrs. Almira says that she is eating since she came and says that she has to do dieting for a year. Lakshmi asks, what are you saying? And says that when the daughter goes to her mother's house, then also she also take care of her. Mrs. Almira says to Lakshmi that in India, it is said that water should not be drank at one's daughter's house. Lakshmi says we should change the mindset and asks if mother loves her daughter less even after knowing that she will get married and she will go to someone else's house, and says the daughter should tell their parents that they have another home now. Mrs. Almira appreciates Lakshmi for her thought and says all parents should get a daughter like you. Karishma says you said right, all children should respect their parents too. Neelam says some daughter-in-laws comes to their in-laws' house to break it and to ruin their name, and such daughter-in-law should be taught a lesson. Grandma tells Neelam that in some in-laws' house, daughter-in-laws are taught always as well, and the daughter-in-law should teach a lesson to those in-laws as well. Ayu says yes, and Neelam look angry. Rishi says if daughter-in-law's husband is with her, then all the problems will be solved, and Ayu says love is very important too. Virendra says that if both in-laws and daughter-in-law love each other, then nobody should have any problem. Mrs. Almira says that Lakshmi said right. Ayu says my sister-in-law is always right. Lakshmi says to Mrs. Almira that there is a surprise for you. Just then, they see Mrs. Almira's sister coming there with her husband, Rohan and Priyanka. Rishi says that Lakshmi got this idea of calling Mrs. Almira's sister so that Mrs. Almira can talk to them since she couldn't go to them again. Mrs. Almira thanks Lakshmi for calling her family there and she asks her. Lakshmi says, I understood that you wanted to meet them and that was why I called them over. Lakshmi says to Mrs. Almira that you regarded me as your daughter, so I can do anything for you, and she asks Priyanka and Rohan to sit. Malishka asks Sonal to see what Lakshmi is doing. Sonal asks Malishka not to worry and says Lakshmi will not get a chance to cry after whatever they are about to do to her. And it is definitely true. After what Sonal and Malishka are about to do to Lakshmi, Lakshmi will definitely not be able to cry. In case you don't know what they are about to do to her yet, I've made a video about that. How they planned and made Lakshmi believe that Rishi slept with Malishka. I've already made a video about that. So see this thumbnail. Check the channel for the video that has this thumbnail. Then that is the video. Watch it and you will get to know how Malishka and Sonal planned and made Lakshmi believe that Rishi had intimate with Malishka. And because of that, Lakshmi left the Oberai's house. And Rishi and Lakshmi got divorced as well. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.